Good evening, race fans, and welcome in to another episode of Horsepower Happenings. A great show coming up for you tonight. We'll talk with Jeff Reay, the IMCA Modified Ace at Crystal Motor Speedway, and Andrew Bogusz, social media class in session tonight. But first, here's some things happening in a Motor City Minute. From Darlington in the world of NASCAR, Daniel Hemrick found victory lane Friday in the NASCAR Truck Series. Austin Hill went to victory lane in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and Denny Hamlin, with controversy, two in a row in the Cup Series, he goes back to victory lane on Sunday. Cole Butcher won what could have been one of the only short track races in the country to get off the ground over the weekend. He picked up the Appalachian Sucker Punch 250 with the ASA Stars National Tour down at Dominion Raceway on Saturday. And Cody Swanson has announced his plans to return to the USAC Silver Crown Series in 2025. It'll take two teams to get it done, one for the dirt, one for the asphalt, but he's coming back looking for number 9 on the season or on his career with the USAC Silver Crown cars. All those details available at horsepowerhappenings.com. And that's what's happening in a Motor City Minute. Good evening. Welcome in. I'm Zach Heiser. Rich France joins me from across the way. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right. I guess the lucky number for the weekend was two, right? Two in a row for Denny Hamlin, two in a
Yeah.
row for Cole Butcher.
Yeah. A couple of
Um,
wins back to back. Austin Hill, too, right? He won at Martinsville and then won
oh,
it
that's right.
at
Two
Darlington.
there as well. I missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cole Butcher. I'm. This is going to be scary. Could he run rampant straight through this Appalachian Sucker Punch schedule?
I'll say this: it's only 12 races or 10 races or whatever it is, but it's a long season, right? I mean, it stretches all the way until November with the All American 400. You've got the Winchester 400, the Red Bud in there as well, which he's a defending winner of the Red Bud. So, yeah, I think it's Cole Butcher's to lose right now, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, he started off the season. I think he had 11th place finish at New Smyrna. Then he won at Five Flags, and now he won at Dominion. So, I mean, you're going to beat Donnie Wilson Motorsports, right? You got to beat them if you go to every racetrack knowing they're the ones that you got to beat. Them and Anthony Campy. Those are the ones up front that you got to beat. And Cole Butcher's saying, "Don't forget about me. Come get me."
Right. That's right. All right, I'm going to switch this up on our script a little bit here, Rich, just so you know. Breaking news today that came out this afternoon. Remember a couple of weeks ago when we told you I-96 Speedway had tagged a big Friday night show, $7,500 to win, that was at the front of a Valvoline American Late Model Ironman Series weekend? Well, the sanctioning has come through. That Friday night show will now be the Late Model Dirt Rumble at I-96, sanctioned by the Valvoline American Late Model Ironman Series. The announcement was made today that Autism Awareness Night, Late Model Dirt Rumble at I-96 Speedway, will be Friday, May 23rd, and it will mark just the 26th ever visit by the series and the first since 2019. Rich, can you guess who went to Victory Lane at that show in 2019?
In 2019,
Yep, August 30th, 2019, the last driver to win what would have been the Sunoco American Late Model Series sanctioned event
at I
was,
90 at I-96,
yep,
um, Travis Stemler.
Rusty Schlenk went to Victory Lane in
Ah,
2019.
hey, I was in the right ballpark.
You were in the right neighborhood. And now this just kind of happened, Rich, out of chance. After a couple of rainouts to start the season and some schedule adjustments coming down the line, the tour was able to make it work. So this 35 lap, $7,500 to win, $700 to start race has now been added to their schedule. And again, it's the front of a weekend that includes a $5,000 to win affair at Butler Motor Speedway on Saturday and another $7,500 to win affair at Crystal Motor Speedway on Sunday to round out the weekend. And it comes after a couple of dates in the region. This next Saturday, Eldora Speedway for 5 grand. May 2nd and 3rd, Attica and Fremont for a pair of $5,000 to win. May 10th at Atomic Speedway for 5 grand, and then the Memorial Day weekend here in Michigan, Rich. This is a pretty good swing for our state for dirt late model racing.
Yeah, it already sounds like my Memorial Day weekend is now taken. I did. I think I had something for Saturday and Sunday. I think Friday's now taken now. Uh
And
oh. Uh oh.
and then we got something on Monday too. Memorial Day weekend's going to be busy.
Yes, I can see that already.
So that's pretty cool. Good for I-96. Good for the American Late Model Series, American Late Model Ironman Series to get that accomplished. And I love it. I think it's going to be a great show. And I obviously am probably not going to be able to make it, but I think it's good. I think it's good, Rich. That's the bottom line.
If you're a listener of this program, pack the seats.
Yeah.
Pack the seats for that. Make sure you get out there. Support I-96 Speedway. They're trying to, they're stepping it up here in 2025. They're putting on some big races for the fans. You got to pay them back, and you got to fill the seats.
Well, we don't have a lot of details, but here's what we'll tell you. Something is brewing over at Galesburg Speedway, Rich. I don't know if you've been able to see any of these things, but long story short, the township and the racetrack are butting heads, and the public is stepping up to try to make sure that the township knows that the racetrack is wanted. It's a tale as old as time. We don't have all the details yet. We don't have statements from the township or from the racetrack, Rich, but we know that they're butting heads. And anytime that happens, I just get a little bit concerned about what the future of the racetrack is going to be.
And I think the reason there's a lot of no comments is because these are elected officials, right? Probably, uh, and they probably want to be reelected at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful on what side your stance is, because if you're on the wrong side, the racing community is very strong,
Yeah.
and you may not win re-election. So just a little bit of advice on that side, but they'll have to get things sorted out. Galesburg Speedway needs to be there to stay. It's a pillar in the community. They got great people putting on shows there. Hopefully they can meet halfway or somewhere in the middle and work things out.
All that I'm able to find out right now, and we're going to try to see if we can track down some information this week, but essentially the township is trying to make it so that the track can't use a portion of the property that they have there. So that's obviously going to make things difficult. If you have the property, you need all of it to put these events on. So we're going to try to figure it out. Obviously Bob Garrett's running the day-to-day things there, and some other folks that are involved there that have been a part of Galesburg for a very long time. So we'll see what we can find out. Keep your eyes on our social media, and we'll see what we can bring you there on that story. Preseason test was held yesterday, Rich. Race cars went round and around on a Sunday afternoon in the state of Michigan. Can you believe it?
Um, no, because I can't believe that Mother Nature stayed away long enough to let it happen. But yeah, no, up at Crystal Motor Speedway. We'll talk to Jeff about it, get the inside scoop. I understand he was out there,
I
so
guess they had a whole bunch of race cars out there.
not a bad thing, right?
Not a bad
thing.
Yep.
When you're the first dirt track to open up in the state of Michigan, you're going to draw some race cars.
I think it's going to look pretty good this Saturday too. Speaking of, you're right. We talk about Attica and scheduling dates in March, and you just never know. I think the LeBarons are going to get away with one this weekend, and if they can, I think it's going to be a home run. Don't you?
It's no surprise in April you're going to need a hoodie or two, right?
Sure.
No surprise there. But you're going to see some great racing. You're going to have a full field of cars because nobody else is running. Everybody wants to get out and get their cars shook down and get that first win of the year right out. It'd be the first one to win in Michigan. And boy, I think the competition is going to be unbelievable.
And not to be excluded, by the way, Toledo Speedway had cars going round and round over the weekend too. Despite the standing water on the property, they found some dry spots to do some tests over the weekend. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think from my understanding, I don't think it's a secret. Van Dorn Racing Development took a bunch of race cars down there and had a test.
Yeah, I saw clips of Dylan Stovall, Blake Rowe, Austin Hull for sure.
Yeah, that would be them.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody else was down there. Do you?
Yeah, Billy Van Meter was there.
Oh, that's right. I did see that Billy was there. Yep, I forgot about Billy.
So yeah, they're down there, and I imagine all those guys have absolute plans of being at Toledo Speedway in a couple weeks.
On April 19th. Yeah, you think? Max Stambaugh, Kelsey Ivey went racing with the McCall Memorial over the weekend down in the Carolinas with USCS. Not a whole lot to report for either of them. Stambaugh brought home a tore-up race car. Kelsey, not a bad weekend. She got hard charger one night, I think coming up to ninth. So good on her, and a good way to start the season before this coming weekend down with us at the Great Lakes Super Sprint. So we'll have more of those details coming up in just a few moments.
Yeah, I did see Zach. I did see that first night down in North Carolina. I think Max got a top 10 finish, finished seventh on
Yeah.
Friday night. And then the others, Van Gurley,
Oh, that's right.
Chase
Yeah.
Dunham,
Thank you.
Van Gurley, Chase Dunham, and Kelsey Ivy all had top 10 finishes at Cherokee. Uh, Max, how's he feeling this week?
I
Did
called
you
him and
talk?
I said he said, I'm fine. I said, okay, what
If
about the car?
anybody doesn't know, he flipped. He flipped on lap number one at Cherokee.
Yeah. Yeah. I said, what happened? He goes, that's what happens when you get stuck in the back. I said, oh, he goes, I drew like a 98 pill and could not get up. I couldn't get away from being in the back. I said, well, all right. I said, how are you? He goes, I'm fine. I said, how's the car? Not fine.
Not fine.
So hopefully we'll see him this weekend. Well, he assured me that if we race at I-75, we'll see him. But we'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. Our first featured interview tonight brought to you by Independence Heating and Cooling, where right now, when you use promo code hashtag Racing Takes Balls, that's the promo code hashtag Racing Takes Balls, you'll get a free surge protection device on any new AC installation. This guest is from Portland, Michigan. Jeff Reay, welcome into Horsepower Happenings, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Zach. Thanks, Rich, for having us here. And it's nice seeing you guys still kicking around here, and racing season's right around the corner here.
My God,
So
it is finally here, isn't it? And
it is.
God,
We gotta finally smell some racing fuel here yesterday at Crystal Motor Speedway. And I tell you what, there was a lot of cars there for a practice night.
talk about that. Defending champion of the modified division, you are there at Crystal. And, I got a great relationship with Brian. We talk quite a bit. And the LeBarons have, you know, and I'm careful not to say anything against what Ron Flynn built because, that's the house that Ron built. But the LeBarons have really taken Crystal to the next level. Talk about racing there, whether it's the competition or the infrastructure or anything that comes to your mind about, what is it that keeps you going to Crystal on Saturday nights?
The competition is probably the number one thing, and yeah, I can't say it's the number one thing. The number one thing is probably the fans in the stands. I mean, that's I enjoy, being able to help put on a show for the fans in the stands, and it's usually packed, and they put on a really good program, and it all comes from Ron Flynn and Brian and Jake and them guys are just putting their little edge touch to the program there and sparking it up a lot more than what it has been and putting a lot of effort into the track and putting new clay on and you know making it more back the way it used to be 15 years ago. Bringing the excitement back and putting excitement into the fans and trying to make it interesting for that type of crowd. And that's probably the number one thing. I would say, the competition is very tough there. We get quite a few cars every weekend, and in each division we do, and that's the competition definitely makes you better all around, and then you can go travel and go out of state and stuff like that. It definitely helps towards all that. Um, I would say, the things that they've been doing around there, improving um, their facility is very, very important, and I think all the fans very appreciate that, and all the drivers and the crew and everybody that helps around there.
Jeff, we've talked to Brian in the last couple of years, a couple of times, and you talk about the improvements, and we asked Brian, when do you think you're going to be done? And he said every time we get something taken care of, we find something else. So it's, I don't, we hear about a Wasso Speedway with a 5-year, 10-year plan. It seems like that Brian and his team, they always find something to either make it better for the fans or the racers.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and they're putting their best foot forward and trying to improve everything. and Crystal Motor Speedway is your premier racetrack in the state of Michigan. I mean, it always has been, but you can definitely see the spotlight on them guys, especially when you talk to other racers out of state, from Iowa and over to the west and to the south and down the east coast. I mean, you got the guys coming from Florida and Pennsylvania coming there, and you got Dylan Thornton that came out last year. And I know there's a handful of bigger name guys that are supposedly supposed to be coming out this year to a couple of big events, and I'm very, very excited for that, because we go race on their dirt, their sandboxes, and I always tell them, come to our sandbox. You don't know what slick is till you come race our sandboxes.
Jeff, what I think is cool is though, I agree with you. Crystal has come a long way, but I think dirt tracks in Michigan are coming a long way. I mean, Tim Wilbur is doing an incredible job down at Butler that I don't think anybody saw coming. Now I-96, they're trying to make something of themselves now. They wanted to get comfortable last year. Now they're having some big money shows. Maybe 96 is on its way back too. Dirt track racing in Michigan could be on its way back and become stronger.
Yeah, I believe so, 100%. The dirt track racing here in Michigan is definitely turning the corner and coming back uphill from what it was. And you got Larry and stuff over at I-96 Speedway, new to the game. He's lived next door for many years, and so he knows of it. But like he said, when once you slip them shoes on and being the promoter end, it's totally different game. And he's trying his best, and I hope the best for him. And we'll be out there and race. We don't really know where we're racing at on Friday nights yet. And down at Butler, they definitely have done quite a bit in the last couple of years here and widened the track out. And I think you can fit 11 cars now wide at Butler.
I don't
And
know about that. I don't know about that wide.
yeah, I know. So I've heard stories. I haven't been down there. I know probably longer than 10 years ago now. Yeah, probably 14, 15 years ago, I raced down there full time. And when I was a lot younger, and I tell you what, that was probably one of the funnest racetracks in Michigan that I raced on. I mean, the high bank and the speed and the slide jobs that you can pull there is just phenomenal. It's just a great racing surface, and they've definitely improved the racing surface, I hear, in the last couple years here, and I'm pretty excited for them guys.
Well, we called you up last May because you had an unbelievable start actually, your first race in the books last year was not that great. But after that, pair of wins, second, third, another win, third, right? And then the rest of the season just kind of kept going that way. A bad night here or there. But we're talking about a season with 38 features made and 36 top 10 finishes and 4 wins along the way. That results in a championship. How do you rank last year and your performance with leading up to that championship?
You know, the Greg Bauer racing team I race for here, for my car owner, that was our first year together, and we had a super blast of a year, and it was super, super fun. And I think it was the fourth night out, I believe I rolled my car at Tri-City, and it wasn't the same. And come to find out, we went and took her and put her on the jig over winter time, and she was a little kitty wampus in the front end. And I could tell, through the racing season that I was pretty sick and tired of the second and third places finishes,
Yeah.
and we just kind of we had a good car, but there was definitely speed that was lost in the front end of that thing. And we went and practiced yesterday, and she's back. She's ready to go.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about how yesterday we talked earlier on the phone, and you said it didn't take you very long to decide we're good, put it in the trailer. How did yesterday go?
Yeah, it went really good. We made probably we took 2 sessions around there. I don't know, 10, 11 laps, and tried to run the smoother line, with the newer clay on the track and the type of weather we've had. The track was a little rougher, but I know they'll get it straightened out. It was good to get cars ran on it, get some things packed in, and get her shaped up for this coming weekend. But other than that, everything aligned pretty good yesterday, with a couple little short adjustments we did, and it wasn't much, just chain droop and left front chain. Other than that, we didn't touch the car a whole lot because it felt too good.
I was just going to ask this, Rich, and then go ahead. I was just with the car feels so good yesterday, and then you look at last year's stats. How do you improve? When you have such a good line, 38 features and 34 top tens or whatever it is, 36 and 34. I mean, you didn't almost every time that 12 car was on the track, she was in the top 10 and competing for wins. Um, what is the goal this year to maintain that, or how do you improve, or what are you looking to do this year?
Well, my goal this year is obviously keep on four wheels and um
That's a good start. I like that.
and I would say, I'd like to uh, break my win streak for a year. For the year, I had 14 features. I won 14 features here a couple years back. I think I did that 2 years in a row, and I would like to win more than 14 features this year. I know it's going to be very, very tough, but I think I got the crew to do it, and the car's there to do it. As long as everything aligns up and we keep our nose clean and just go race and have fun, that's the biggest thing. You got to race to have fun, and if you're not having fun, you ain't gonna be winning. So you got to have fun to win, and
And winning is
um,
fun, right? That's what other guys tell us: is we race to have fun, but winning is fun.
absolutely, it is definitely fun. It definitely puts the cherry on the top at the end of the night. Not that I don't mind second and third place finishes, but I guess the biggest thing is going forward every night. When you get into that points deal and you got to start 10th, 12th every night, and as long as you can move forward and finish in the top five, that's a fun night.
Talking with Jeff Reay, the 2024 champion at Crystal Motor Speedway, with the opener coming up this weekend. We'll continue the conversation in just a moment, but first, want to say thank you to Independence Heating and Cooling. They are Southern Michigan's Bryant dealer. Now through May, when you install a home furnace or air conditioner, you'll get your choice of a whole home humidifier, Honeywell 4-inch air filter cabinet, or Bryant UV germicidal lamp. It kills the germs, even COVID. Remember when COVID was around? That was a selling point. It even killed COVID. Those things would be free if you do the home furnace or air conditioner. That's nearly a $500 value. When you install a furnace and air conditioner at the same time, you'll get your choice of two of those free items, a nearly $1,000 value. That's going on right now only at Independence Heating and Cooling, Southern Michigan's Bryant dealer. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Jeff, you were talking about the track, this weekend, and you kind of had to figure it was going to be rough. We've had a lot of moisture from Mother Nature recently, so you figure it's going to be soft and it's going to rut up a little bit. But that's good to get all you guys out there, as many cars that were out there, to kind of help get that new clay prepped up for the season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting them cars out there and running in the soft spots and getting it packed down underneath. I mean, you got to build your racing surface, and that's just what it takes. We had plenty of cars yesterday to get it packed in pretty well, and yeah, it was rough in spots, but I got confidence in the guys there at Crystal Motor Speedway to get that track ready for the rest of the year here. We all know the track prep guys. They do the best they can, and I believe Ryan's still doing track prep there, and he knows what he's doing, and we all know it's never perfect, and if it was perfect, I mean, all the time, I mean, that would be amazing, but that's not the honest truth of it. It ain't gonna ever be perfect to everybody's standards, but it's definitely, I know it will come around, and it's the same as last year. It's a little rough the first night, but after we got the first night out of the way, it was pretty good racing.
You mentioned double-digit wins a couple years ago, which is what I'm used to seeing out of you, right? And last year, it's still, I mean, 36 top tens out of 38 starts isn't bad. You had a bent up car, but what else do you guys need to do? Was it just the car, or is there stuff that maybe you need to work on from last year? Everybody can have a good year, or maybe a little down year. Yours, a down year for you is still pretty good by anybody else's standards. But what else you think you got to do to get back to those double digit feature wins?
Well, I think I need to, probably just drive harder. I think, you know, when I help a lot of people at the racetracks and back at home in the shop and stuff like that. And, I helped a lot of people throughout the year last year and doing a little more focus on our car and just I think more just me driving harder and rolling a car. It puts you it rattles you sometimes, and I think that might have had an effect in it a little bit. I hate to say it, I don't want to say that, but um I honestly think just driving a little bit harder and having a straight car and I think, I mean, my crew is just phenomenal. The tire prep's there, and I mean, the setup has to be there. But after we bent that car, we couldn't get our numbers where we wanted them in the front end, and come to find out, like I was thinking, it was a little kitty wampus up there, but she's back ready to go.
Well, we all say, well, at least I always did. And again, I was really young. Rich, I don't know if you ever said this, but I always said if I wrecked a car hard, I wouldn't let it bother me. Well, I never flipped a car. I hit a couple walls pretty hard, but I never flipped a car. I never was on fire. So I never had to deal with that, that
Check, and check for me.
you got. I mean, did you, Rich? I mean, did you notice that it affected you the next time you climbed in the car? And my point is, Jeff, was that a bigger mental hurdle than you thought it would be? So, Rich, you first, and then Jeff. That's my question.
I think, well, the one I was on fire, that was a little bit scary because I kind of got knocked a little silly. Didn't flip over, thank God. Um, but that was a little nerve wracking there. Yeah, I'm sitting in the car and there's fire on the other side of the windshield. Um, but you kind of, my philosophy was I wanted to come back and say that's not us. We don't wreck. We didn't wreck a lot. Um, and the easiest thing to get back is come back and fix it all the right way and come back and be fast first night out. That's how you get rid of it right away.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, was it a bigger mental mountain for you than you thought it would be?
Well, I don't think it was totally a big mountain. I think it was more that um it kind of just it rattled me knowing that I bent the front end of the car and I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't have a backup car to jump in to come back out
Okay.
and put the hammer down.
I was
And
getting
I
the
did.
impression that you felt like maybe you were still leaving something on the table as far as you're not driving as hard as you did before you flipped.
Yeah, I couldn't drive as hard into the corner and through the corner um like I could have, that like the first few nights before I flipped it. It just, I knew there was something
The holdback
wrong
was
in the
with the
front end.
car. You knew that the car wouldn't take it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was driving the car as hard as I could for the most part, what it would let me, without getting too outside the box. But it's not that I wasn't driving hard, but I feel like that it slowed me down and I need to drive harder. And it wouldn't let me. And it's just, when you got the right front that's bent down an inch and a half and the left front's bent up an inch and a half, it twisted the front end, and your ride height ain't right, and you're taking load out, and now you're bottoming out, and you're fighting that issue. And I would say 4 or 5 races I fought brake issues after I flipped, and we end up finding a couple steel lines that were pinched, and we didn't notice it. And we were having issues there too, so I couldn't enter the corner like I wanted to, because I use brakes, and some people don't, but I think if you use brakes, you go faster.
Yeah, Zach, mine was a little bit different. Mine was at the end of the season, so we hit the wall, caught on fire, all in one shot. So we had the winner replace the center section. It bent the X. That's how hard I hit the wall
Way
under
to
my
go.
seat.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's scoring. When you can bend the X under the seat, you're scoring points.
yeah, yeah.
And we had all winter, so we put a whole part of the new center section in it and a whole new front clip. And I think we came out. That was in end of the 2011 season, and in 2012, first night out, fast qualifier solved our problem.
There you go. Yeah,
Jeff,
awesome.
are you looking at championship points this year? Or, I mean, I know we kind of talked about it that, wins are fun and racing is fun if you're winning. Do you want another championship title, or are you good?
I definitely want to hang on to the Crystal Championship title. I want to hang on to it for the next 3 years,
Okay.
and
Why three? What's significant about that?
actually probably 4 years, because I'm pretty sure Meyer and DeYoung's won it the last 3 or 4 years, and I want to beat his win streak. And he's my fire, that that's what he makes me drive harder and work harder. He's one of those old bulls that um makes you a better racer, and if you can do better than what he's done, you're saying something, and I definitely want to go for the track championship again at Crystal. I don't know about, region or national or anything like that. I don't have a Friday night track yet set in mind. I've been thinking about Mount Pleasant. I'm so excited for them
I
guys
was
over there.
gonna ask you about that. That that's the first time in a little while that IMCA has sanctioned a air quotes new track. Tough break for the folks at Tri City, and we won't get into all that. But
Mhm.
for Mount Pleasant to get that sanctioning, I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for them guys, and I guess I got to make my mind if I want to drive an hour and 20 minutes every Friday night, one way to go racing. Um, but I kind of want to support my local track at I-96 too. I don't know yet, and I haven't looked at the Friday night schedules yet and see if Mount Pleasant starts before I-96 or not. It just
Well,
kind of depends.
Bristol starts this weekend and 96 starts next weekend, so I think you might have your answer.
Okay. So we'll be at I-96 Friday night next weekend. I
Great
really
choice,
haven't,
Jeff.
yeah, haven't thought about it, really much on the Friday night thing. I kind of had, I guess I'm a straight honest guy, and you guys know I am. I don't cut the corners. I don't beat around the bush. And last year at I-96, we had some good runs out there,
Mhm.
and we had a bad call one night, and I did a donut on the front stretch after the race. It's a long story, and they uh they kicked me, well, not really kicked me out for 2 weeks, but they wanted to tell me I was kicked out for 2 weeks, and it was pretty tough call, and it bit me the wrong way, and I
Yeah.
come to support my local track, and to get treated the way I did from the tech inspector. I wasn't okay with it, so I packed my bags and packed the race car up, and we drove all the way to Tri-City Motor Speedway every single Friday night. It's an hour and 45 minutes one way, and some nights 2 hours one way.
Wow.
And because I'm not going to support a track that has tech inspectors like that, or the calls that were made.
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
We'll just leave it at that. I could go on and on about it.
hopefully,
You know what I
hopefully
mean?
things have changed, right? I know there's been some
Yeah,
changes there at that track throughout the
yeah.
off
And
season.
and,
So
and I all due respect to Larry. He's a good promoter, and I think he's actually trying to make the track better and all that stuff. And Walt, Walter and Walt, he does good track prep. And I don't know if that's who's run track prep this year out there. I hear they got a bunch of new staff and everything, and hopefully a new tech, but I doubt it. So I'll be starting at 96 Friday night, I guess, and
A
we'll
little
see how
see
it
how it
goes.
little see how it goes. That's exactly it. All right. Well, as long as you're open to it, right? That's sometimes the
Yep.
hardest
Well,
part.
I'm always open to it. Whoever starts first, that's where I'm gonna be. It don't matter if I like them or don't like them.
There was another, and I asked you this in a previous show, and I don't ever remember what the answer was because I remember when I was announcing at 96, there were two Rias, wasn't there, that was racing?
Yeah, there was my dad and I.
Yeah.
My dad's been racing for a long time. The last few years he kind of races a handful of times and lets somebody else drive the car and trying to have fun. But I tell you, he has a brand new Rage chassis sitting in a shop right now that we all been helping him put it together, and I'm so excited for him because he's finally going to be in a really good hot rod,
All right.
and it's I'm I'm excited. He gets behind the wheel and stands on it. He's definitely going to be some competition.
All right. Season opener this Saturday. Don't tell anybody. Shh. The weather looks okay. The weather looks all
I
right.
hope so.
It looks all right.
I'm ready. I'm ready for this weather that we've had to go away,
Golly,
and
been terrible.
I'm ready for some 65-degree weather, and let's go racing.
Can you crack off the season opener? That's my question. You and Myron gonna go head to head. Who else? I mean, as Rich would say, qualify your weekend for me. What do you think your chances are getting to victory lane?
Well, I think it's our first race. We do draw redraw. It really all depends on the draw redraw. You put me in the top 12, we're coming to the front.
All
Can I
right.
win it? Can I win it? I don't know. I want to say yes, but going to be some tough competition. I believe we're going to have probably 30, 35 modifieds there Saturday night, and you got probably Thoroughbees and Harnick's, and Harnick's been a pretty hot shoe, especially last year. He did very, very well, and hats off to him. He's a heck of a driver, and you got Meyer and DeYoung, and you got I want to say Nate Jones, but I think he's going to be in his pro truck this weekend, and
I was thinking
and
about Roseboro. Is Roseboro gonna go? You know.
Roseboro will probably be there, and he's a tough cat too. And he drive. I love racing against all these guys, and they all race really clean and tight racing, and I really really enjoy it. And there's a lot of good drivers in the state of Michigan, and I'd like to see these guys out west come to our track and see if they can take us on.
Well, Jeff, congratulations on your championship at Crystal last year. Um, Hope you can give it a shot to go back to back. But I want to give you a chance to give a shout out to all the people that helped you get that championship in 2024.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really got to give a shout out to my buddy Tyler Henry and Lee Parkhouse. They definitely they go to work every day and they get out of work and they call me. You ready to work on race car? There's some days I tell them no because I'm working late, but they're always there. They make sure things are done and everything's done right. And it took a few years to train the guys, but we got them set up just perfect now. And I really got to thank them guys, and I got to thank my uncle Tom and my dad. Obviously, my dad, he lets me work out of his shop once in a while, and that makes things a lot easier, because my shop ain't very big. And I got to thank my wife and obviously my kids. They keep me going. I tell them, I say, I think I'm retire for a couple years, and they say, no, you're not, Dad. You're gonna race till the day you die. And I'm
Not an
like, oh boy.
option.
And I gotta give a shout out to Greg Bauer. He's my car owner, and he really, really enjoys going to the races, and I really, really enjoy seeing the smile on his face every time we're at the track, and especially when we're sitting in victory lane and getting our pictures taken. It's priceless seeing the smile on his face. And I
Absolutely.
know I'm forgetting some people. I can name off a lot of people, and my sponsors. I mean, I got Nick Cipher from Farm Bureau Insurance, that's on board this year, and Grand Ledge Paving. Nick Cipher owns Grand Ledge Paving too, and I got to give him a shout out for being on board this year. And Prime Contracting, he's been here, for the last 7 years on the car, and I really appreciate him. And AWE, anything with engines, he does all our family vehicle, fixes and keeps our some of our vehicles maintained and the family's vehicles. And I really got to give him a shout out for, supporting us. And I got to thank my mom. She does a lot. We always have food every weekend at the racetrack, and she's owns Tommy's Catering, so she's she loves to cook. So I really greatly appreciate her doing that and getting hats and shirts around to get them, shipped out to everybody. And I also got to thank, Northern Michigan Forestry for the support and the opportunity to work for that company. And I also got to thank Sean Kennedy from Sneaky Horse Pull Bars. He's out of Canada. Uh, the uh, the stuff that gets shipped across the borders now is a little more expensive, but I tell you, it's worth it. But I know I'm missing a couple people. JBS Coatings, John McCall. I'm sure you guys know John McCall from over the years, and he's he's been a good true friend and supports me 100% and really keeps me going and gives me really great advice in the racing industry and powder coated my race car for free. And I really got to thank him for that. And I don't know who else I'm forgetting, but I'm forgetting somebody.
Well, it's a healthy
So,
list anyhow. That was pretty good.
yeah.
That was pretty good.
No.
All right, Jeff. Well, hey, good luck this weekend. Crystal Motor Speedway opener, full show, and weather looks pretty good. So hopefully you guys can get it in, and good luck this weekend.
Yeah, and Brian said Brian LeBaron told me to tell you guys he said hi.
Okay. Well, and Brian,
I seen him earlier. I had to go over to the racetrack and look at the track one more
of
time,
course.
before the racing season starts here. And
Well, and
and
Brian likes it when I remind everybody that I know he listens. So that means that my phone will probably ring tomorrow morning and say Brian
oh,
LeBaron.
I'm sure it will. I'm
Uh,
sure it will.
all
And
right.
I have one more sponsor, Forest Restoration, Mike Patrick. I can't thank him enough for all the support too.
All right. Cool. All right, Jeff. Well, good luck this weekend, my friend.
All right. Thank you guys.
Well, Zach, it's time for our next featured interview of the night, brought to you by No Limits Carts and Parts, where you can find everything you need to race like a pro. This young man's from Shelby Township, Michigan. His dad's one of my dear friends. I've known him for a long time. Now he can't give me a hard time anymore. We got his son on the show, a third generation driver, I believe. Andrew Bogusz, welcome into Horsepower Happenings.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure being on here. I've been trying to be on the show for probably 2-3 years, and now here we are, finally on making my debut on Horsepower Happenings, the Horsepower Happenings.
There you go. Hey, I'll pay you for that one later. Which talk to me about the direction you took. Obviously, your grandfather and your dad pavement stock cars, right? That's a different path than you decided to take. I'm surprised. Kind of tell me the decision making process when you started racing and up to where you now in the lights.
Yeah, so it kind of just came down to money and logistics. I mean, we're just like every other budget racing team out there that runs at any local short track, but we took a alternative route in the circle track asphalt scene around Michigan and perhaps the Midwest. But I started racing quarter midgets back in the age of 13 in 2019. Did that for 2 years until I couldn't fit into a car anymore. And then I did karts for a year, swept both of my championships in my rookie season up at Arthur Raceway. These are actually the trophies that I won for my championship right here.
Nice.
But after 2021, I won both of my championships, and my dad sat down and was like, "Okay, what's the next step after this?" Logistically, we would just go into like a street stock and then go into a late model, just like my dad would have and kind of keep that family tradition going. But we were searching other series like the Michigan Legends series, MCR Dwarf Cars, and one series that stood out from all of them was the Midwest Light series, and it was a brand new series from 2020. It was originally the Buckeye 305 sprints, but it got handed over into Jim, and he started sanctioning the series from there. And we eventually started venturing up into Michigan and all that. And we called Jim Hanks, the owner of Must See, and he said, "Yeah, we would love to have you and my teammate Charlie Bauer coming out because we're in the same deal for the driver development deal for Eddie Sachs." But we said, "Yeah, we would love to have like two younger people come on in and show them what the series is all about." It essentially acts as a feeder series, and the cost to build one of these cars and manage it was a tad bit less than to build a street stock and go run it at Flat Rock every other week. And combine that with the amount of media that you get. I mean, we broadcast races live on Av TV, Speed Sport, you name it. And it was a must go to for like my next step in my racing career. And I said, me and my dad said, "Oh yeah, we should do this." And plus, they're faster than street stocks too.
So, with no real sprint car experience, and for those who don't know, the Midwest Lights are a crate engine division now that they are sanctioned by Must See. No sprint car experience, and it doesn't take you long to figure out how to win in one of these things. How did you pick it up so fast? And part of me wonders if it wasn't because you weren't tainted, if you will, with full-bodied stock car experience that you were able to go out there and figure this thing out.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to just the hard work and good preparation that you put into like actually being successful in this. I do a lot of like sim racing on iRacing, so you basically just got to find that perfect track combo and car combo with like what you're going to in real life. Kalamazoo is not a scan track on iRacing, so you got to find like an alternative track. The closest alternative was the Lanier National Speedway down in Georgia.
Knew it. I was going to guess.
Yeah, very wide. It's double grooved. You can run as low as you can. And I remember that second win, I'm just like, I'm driving the track and I'm in practice and qualifying. And I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Lanier. And I remember I was with a buddy of mine practicing before that because I'd never even seen Kalamazoo. My dad's seen Kalamazoo once. The only laps he did was back in his Super Pro days, and it was just like a few 3 laps of qualifying, and they pulled in because of the rain, because it was like a rain shortened event.
Oh man!
And so I've seen videos of Kalamazoo. I've like Andy Bozell ripping his ultimate late model with that huge billboard on the side. I'm like, oh my god, that thing is crazy.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to rely off of like video evidence and just keep testing and putting in hard work. Eventually by luck, I guess we made the invert and started on the outside pole that race. And all I did was just like, okay, well, what do you do at Lanier? You just got to like pin the guy down and give him just a lane to work with. And that's exactly what I did. I did all race, kept choosing that outside lane, and it kept prevailing for me. And I just kept late apexing it just like you do on the sim. So if I had to sum it all up into one answer, I got to say hard work.
Yeah.
That's what instantly drove me to success.
And how does that, so there's your winning moment. There's your successful moment in a sprint car. Now, how did you find that? How did you translate that to the other tracks that you were going to for the first time, or the tracks that are not something that you can find on the sim, or something that's similar to the sim? I mean, how do you make sure that you don't fall behind, I guess?
You just got to keep putting in hard work, and you just got to just test and tune. Lorraine that's another track and that's not scanned on the sim. Sandusky is another track that's not scanned on the sim. So you just got to be like, okay, the only time you can test is when you go out on the track. What works, what doesn't? Okay, does this outside line works? What if I laid apex here? What if I enter in early? And it becomes multiple different ideas that you try in the track. There's so you don't.
How much practice time are you getting on an event day?
We get around like 1 to 2 sessions. I mean, they're just like 5, 8 to 3 lap sessions. It's,
Pretty quick.
yeah, it depends on time of the event or like how many classes are there in like an event.
So are you leaning on any of the national tour guys? Like, do you have somebody running the national tour, or you talk about, you're being in that Eddie Sachs program, when you're going to a Sandusky for the first time or a Lanier, are you calling anybody, sending any emails, trying to get anybody's notebook? Like, what does that look like when you're going somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, I text a few guys from like the 410s. When they go out of like at a different track and all that, or if I'm running like a field filler, I got, just got some basic like, acquaintances or friends,
Okay.
but you just build those relationships. Like I asked people like Jason Blond, Charlie Schultz, Tim Henthorn, who used to run with us. Dick Myers helped a lot with Dick Myers has been a big like, supporter behind our teams, man. I mean, I want to call him our race engineer because he provides us on what we need to do, where you need to be on, like where to be successful on the track and both off the track and both car setups and racecraft. But yeah, just people like that, just like you create small talk with, and kind of get what to do out of like when you're going to events like that.
Talk to me more about this Eddie Sachs development program. That's a cool deal. We know Eddie's involved because we see him every year. He's got a award at the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club banquet, so he's very involved within the state of Michigan. How did you get involved with him?
My family and Eddie have been friends for years. I mean, we go back to the first generation with my grandpa. He used to race with Eddie in the super late models division, back when you had like guys like Dick Barker and Tracy Leslie, Bob Fitzpatrick, Junior Hanley, Joy Fair, all those guys. And then you got the small guys like, my grandpa himself, who just like can only do oh so much as a budget racer, and Eddie Sachs himself, who drove that flashy pink car back in the day. But we kind of like reconnected back in the 2000s. Him and my dad were both guest speakers at a Marfac kind of meeting, and they just like created small talk after that. And then as soon as we decided we're going quarter midget racing, my dad ended up saying, "Yeah, we're going Eddie, we're going quarter midget racing." He's like, "Oh no way! I want to put him in the program." So immediately when I was jumped into the seat, just as my dad was getting out, I was already in the driver development program. And I mean, it's been around for years. Eddie had cars field into the feeder series. He had some Kenyan midgets that were entered into that Kenyan midget series that's run by the 500 Sprint Tour. And then eventually they would just go up to running their 500 Sprint car or their Silver Crown. He's worked with people like Miranda Throckmorton, Jimmy Kite, even though Jimmy Kite had a lot of like, success in the past. He's worked with him. Cody Swanson was a major driver for him. He drove for about like 1 or 2 races, but it was kind of just like, hey, my ride's out of this. My ride's kind of out. Can I run your ride just so I keep my points up?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of connections like that. He's worked with other like younger kids that ran in his Kenyan midget series back in the day, but I don't know their names. I couldn't tell them, but yeah. Eventually all of his stuff kind of like you kind of got dispersed and all that, and it just like it kind of died in the 2000s with like Davey Ray kind of leaving and doing other stuff, and Jimmy Kite and all that, and but now Eddie's kind of main focus is to work on me and Charlie and making us like better drivers. But yeah, I think I see that me and my protege, as Jacob Seelman calls Charlie Bauer, is like the future for Eddie Sachs Racing, as we are like the driver development deals.
Having a great conversation here with Andrew, and we're going to continue this conversation. But first, I want to say thank you to No Limit Carts and Parts. And actually, they have a big announcement on today's program. Get ready for the 2025 Mini Wedge Showdown at Owasso Motorsports Park, presented by No Limit Carts and Parts. A race you don't want to miss on June 28th, an epic showdown featuring senior and junior divisions. The senior division a $1,500 payout to the winner. You heard that right. $1,500 for a senior division mini wedge race and $1,000 to win for the junior feature division. Registration is now open. You can find the Mini Wedge Showdown Facebook page to sign up or contact No Limit Carts and Parts for the details. Again, that's No Limit Carts and Parts. They will, of course, get you racing like a pro, but they also want to see you out at the Owasso Motorsports Park next to Owasso Speedway on June 28th for the Mini Wedge Showdown. Rich?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what direction you're going to go in after this. You're not going to, obviously the lights is a stepping stone for you. That's not where you want to stay. But I mean, on one angle, you're with the must see national tour, the wing sprint cars that are on pavement. And I love that everything, all the tracks you're mentioning are pavement. So I got Zach this week. I don't have to listen to one of our guests wanting to go dirt racing, I hope. But then, you got, like you talked about, you can go midget racing, you can go sprint car 500 tour racing. What do you where do you want to go?
Well, that just boils down to like where I started out and where I'm like currently at. I mean, when I started out, I've always been an open wheel driver, open wheel sprint cars, midgets, and all that. So I guess like my big ambition is to go race IndyCar. Like I've always had like a big dream of winning like the Daytona 500 or the Indy 500, but I've already established myself as an open wheel driver. So I guess the next step after this was either go to a 410 wing sprint for the Must-See Racing 410 National Sprint Tour, and then eventually go into Silver Crown, and then kind of do some road course racing with like USF 2000s and junior Formula or Road to Indy after that, or maybe either while I'm doing it.
Do you feel like, and I'm asking, I genuinely do not know, that there needs to be a transition to, because you mentioned Silver Crown, and Silver Crown feels like the natural step before Road to Indy or Indy Light or Next, whatever they're calling that now, Indy Next. To run some 500 tour stuff, or how does that progression work for you? And are you guys already looking at that? Are you guys already thinking about what that next move is?
Yeah, I mean, it all boils down to money because like
Right.
running a crate sprint, no problem. Just like a few thousands you can lose like every like each year, like 2,000s. It just be like, parts or tires. But when you go up to like 410s and all that stuff gets more expensive. An engine costs 80 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Engine in my car costs 5 grand.
Right.
That's not including the carburetor and all. So it all just boils down to like money or like what direction you want to go. But that's kind of like talking in terms of being an owner driver, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I've always raced for my family, and we can I wouldn't technically call it an owner driver, but we're doing the best we can as a family without any interest from any other parties. So until like somebody comes along and say, hey, do you want to come drive my car? Like, either somebody like Kirk Morgan comes up, hey, Davey's out of this ride. Do you want to come run full time in the series? Maybe even run like the Southern Sprint Car Tour, or Dick Myers in his 50M car.
That'd be a ride, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's already got the top 3 best sprint car drivers on speed dial for him to come out whenever they're free. Cody Swanson, Aaron Willison.
Yeah,
this guy he's stacked.
You talk about that, and I think one of the biggest things, I don't feel bad, but I think that young racers have a lot to navigate right now, and you are realizing what it's going to take for you to succeed, and it matters, if not more than your on-track success. It matters about what your image is. A couple of stats that we don't normally talk about on this show. 5.3 thousand followers on Facebook, 13,000 followers on Instagram, 20,000 followers on YouTube, 12,000 followers on TikTok. How did you come to decide that you needed to put this kind of effort into your social media, and are you starting to see it pay off yet?
Well, I mean, social media has always been like a must go to, or kind of just like a side hustle for me ever since like quarter midgets. But once I like gone through that phase. I went through this phase of where it's like, okay, this is actually getting real. Life is getting real. It's either like I need to like put myself out there, or it's like I'm not going to give myself the opportunities. And I've looked at what like my dad has done and, kind of had to just, small talk with sponsors and all that. We go to PRI every year and we say, hey, yeah, we're this and we're that. But then when these sponsors go and do the research, it's like nobody's follows me and all that. And this is back when I had like 1.5 or I was stuck at like 1,000 followers, just a smidge over.
Remember when Greg Van Alst won ARCA Daytona, Rich?
Mhm.
And then he came
Yep.
on our show and he said, I went to all these sponsors and I said, I won Daytona. And they said, great. How many TikTok followers do you have? Right. Exactly. It's amazing how it's hard for us. I'll call us, old fashioned racers where results got you money up until about 15 years ago. Now followings get you money, Andrew. How do you balance that scale? Like, do you worry more about your on track results or do you worry about making sure you have content? I mean, how do you balance those two things?
Oh, both. I mean, I can get my on track results good anytime. I mean, I have a sim at home and all that. I can, whenever I have time or like when I need to, I can just go on the sim and be like, okay, I got to get better at that. Okay, what can I do that? And just analyze results. But with social media is literally becoming a must have for so many different niches in these coming years. I think by 2030, like almost every person on the planet should have a social media to build their followings and build that, digital footprint and social network and all that. And during this, like back in early in 2024, I started doing, research like, how can I get myself out there? How can I get my name out there? What can I do to differentiate like myself from all these other competitors that either have high followers or low followers and they're doing good on track? How can I differentiate myself?
Mm-hmm.
So I went up to, there was a guy named Nick Lambert, and he runs a social media coaching kind of platform called turn1.io. You'll see the link in my bio and all that and check out what he does. He does a lot of stuff for like road course racing guys. He's done social media for a few ARCA guys, kind of like K&N Pro Series Tour kind of guys. And, it works. I sat down, I had a call with him. I'm like, okay, here's what I have to do. Here's what my goals I want to be. And he's like, well, what do you want to do at the end of this year? I'm like, I want to at least I want to at least grow my following. He's like, okay, well, that's a little low. What if you want to do 10,000 or 100,000? I'm like, is that possible? He's like, absolutely. I mean, this is the program that we do. And we, basically just like, we give you all the resources and all of like the ideas of like what you need to do to become successful. And it wasn't until like August of last year we finally had a follow-up call and I finally said, yeah, I want to do this right now. And this was like at kind of like the mist of like where it's like, okay, I started upping my game. One of like the goals I had was I needed to create like a YouTube channel. I needed to become a content creator to show what I need to show these people what it's like to be putting all this work in for like, my brand and all that, and for what doing the sport I love and my dream and all that. So, I mean, it was kind of fragile at the start. We mainly focused on Instagram, and then I'm like, okay, well, what if I start making these reels that I started back in August and September and put it over to YouTube and TikTok? I mean, now we're growing my following with not only just single-handedly with one social media platform, we're growing it across multiple, and that strengthens my followers goal even more. I mean, at the start of this year, I created my own website and I had like 10 people from the first 5 months literally visit my website. That number has skyrocketed just because I started posting daily and, posting this engaging type content and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that these racers and around these local short tracks like Owasso or Crystal or Merritt, Flat Rock, Berlin, Kalamazoo, all these people that are racing they need to start posting it, get their name out there, and actually show their worth to these sponsors and all that.
And we talked, I was going to say, you kind of can make a comparison. A friend of the program who we could have on 10 times a year, but we only have him on once, usually after his Toledo win, is Cody Swanson. and we talked to Cody because Cody's been doing Silver Crown and 500 sprint car tour and midgets and stuff, but never quite got up above that, right? And and it's always, well, the right opportunity hasn't come along, or the right. And I'm thinking it might be just because Cody Swanson is not the biggest social media person in the world at all. He's got more talent than probably anybody he races against on a weekly basis, right? But that's the difference. If he had 500,000 followers, he could probably write his own ticket. If he's not doing it already.
Yeah. That's one of these big things, like in Silver Crown or Flow Racing, like these guys like Bubba Pollard or Landon Huffman. I can put Landon Huffman aside because he started way before I did, and now he's already growing his like social media platform, and he started posting reels like almost every week. I'm at that point where it's like I went from posting a reel every day to where it's like, okay, I'm over 10,000 followers, and now I'm micro celebrity. I can kind of just take a break day and let my account go, and then do a feed post like every other week, and to show like how's life doing and what's going on. But yeah, I think that's a major undercut with Cody Swanson. He needs to like build his following and like actually show what he's doing and all that.
All right, I got one more thing that I really wanted to ask you about. And we've talked about so much stuff already. We're already kind of running out of time, but the videos that I have been seeing on your social media, obviously there's some great B-roll that you have. One of them comes from road course racing in a sprint car. You were making an intentional right-hand turn, not just correcting the car in a slide. Talk about that. Talk about taking that 17 car. Where was it? How did that opportunity come to be? What was the goal there? If I remember correctly, I think it was a little bit of a test to see the practicality of these cars in that situation. What was going on?
Yeah. So that kind of just, that's one of the clips that I have. So I have like for my reels and all that, but that was taken during like a test session before we did the event. But the M1 Concourse, which is this 1.5-mile road course in Pontiac, Michigan, it sits on the grounds of an old Chevrolet factory that used to build RVs and trucks. They demolished the factory, and back in around like 2014, 2016, they built this road course and for like condominiums, and it was a good model for like people that have like a little extra money and want to take their sports cars out on the road and have fun, but you can't do that because there's cops. So what do? You go to a track.
Right.
So Eddie, my boss, said, Eddie Sachs, my boss, I'm going to call him my boss, but he was down in Nashville for the IndyCar series and was talking to like the executives for the M1 Concourse, and they're like, okay, this is what we do, and Andrew's got this big social media, and Charlie, with what he's doing, he's like doing the same thing. They're like, you know what? We would love to have you out at our American Speed Festival, which was this track. It was this track day that involved vintage Indy cars, GT3 cars, GT4 cars, drift cars, NASCAR car, all these different cars. And, let's add like a sprint car and see what happens if you put a sprint car on a road course. So we kind of agreed to that, and we put a road course setup in the car, and we went there like a week before, and we just kind of tested. And I was like, in the third test, I was like, I want to see how far I can push this car. And at that reel you saw where I ended up turning the car intentionally right and missing, I kind of like missed my braking point and just destroyed the front wing and the front end. And, there were some tempers like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And all, but it was in a test session.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you found out how far you could drive it.
Yeah. We eventually got the car fixed and ready for the event. And, we found some success after that. And the second day of the event, I ended up setting the track record of that course. I could go into detail on every single thing that I put into the car, but I'm just going to say I have a YouTube video out there of driving a sprint car on a road course. I'll kindly ask all you viewers to go ahead, go up, search up my channel, Andrew Bogusz, and check that
Very
video out.
unique. It's very unique. I've never
It
seen a sprint
was.
car on a road course before. So, do you think there's anything there? Do you think there's anything there?
Yeah, I mean, these these sprint cars are old champ cars, essentially.
Sure.
It's just that we've kind of like changed them and innovated them to turn left more.
What'd you
But
do?
yeah,
I mean, did you take the rear stagger out? I mean,
yeah,
how did the top wing affect it at all?
yeah, we didn't change the torsion bars on the car. So every time we took the right hand turns, I had to keep my speed at a fixed position or the car would just bottom out on the left side and just drag. I think after the event, my left Nerf bar was just completely flat because I was like, oh, how far can I put it in the corner? Or like, oh crap, I need to turn it this more. But yeah, we didn't put torsion bars on the left side. We ended up just putting the right side wheels on the left side and evening out the axle placement. We didn't really do much with the wing, but we just kind of did our best to make sure we can keep our car like symmetrical and all that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Very cool. Well, I tell you what, follow this guy on social media. You're still in college, right? So you have a lot of career ahead of you and exciting times ahead of you too. So, what do you have quickly here? Midwest Lights and some tri-state sprints on your Instagram schedule this year. But I assume because that doesn't start until June, that you're open to other opportunities at this point.
I'm always open to any opportunities. I'm just, I gotta like keep building my worth and keep showing like what I can do and just keep growing my fan base and showing like what I can do for these sponsors in return on their investment into like my dream.
Mm-hmm.
But if an opportunity comes up, that's the next step to the next level. I gotta sit down with like my parents and all that and just say, okay, should we take it? What are the claims, constraints, and all that? And I just need opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, one of the best opportunities is making sure people know who support you. And you jumped into this call while Jeff Reay was reading through his phone book. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to tell everybody who it is that is on the side of that 17 car and get you guys up and down the road.
Yeah, want to give big thanks to Motor City Pawnbrokers. They've been friends with my dad ever since elementary school, and their bond is still going together. Lucido Manzella, who's been on my car ever since quarter midget racing. Leslie Tire Service, who provide us with a perfect rate of trailer maintenance and all kind of maintenance, so we call that car down the road. If you know the Leslie name, Tracy Leslie, you obviously know that name, Tracy Leslie. Stahl's Auto and Musical Experience. They're a new sponsor on our board this year. Ted and Mary, they're very good people and all that. And I love coming out to their museum every once in a while, and especially doing their events. We did the Auto to Autism event that we'll probably be doing this year too. We did their trunk or treat and all that, but yeah, they're very good people. Dick Myers at Ram Engineering, All-Star Performance. Let's see. Awesome Racewear. I know I know they're a Canadian-based company for like suits and all that, but they're quality products and all that. I gotta say, get one while you can before this race season starts up. Driven Racing Oil, Lane Automotive, Jomar Performance, Sweet Manufacturing, Justice Brothers, Jack's Wax, Woodward Fab, and Shelving.com. And everybody else that comes along with this board comes on board and makes this dream happen.
And AndrewBogus.com too. I was playing around on the website today. You do a good job. A lot of racing websites get outdated very fast. And you do a good job keeping that all up to date. So good work on that. Andrew, man, first-time guest, multi-time winner with the Midwest Lights, searching for a championship and some more wins this season. Thanks for coming on the show, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me out. I mean, this is such a great opportunity. I've always wanted to be on Horsepower Happenings ever since I've heard of you guys, and thank you guys so much. This was better than missing calculus,
Better than calculus.
It was kind of a work day, I will say. We weren't really learning a new lesson. We have this like test coming up, but it's the test is not due, and I don't think we're taking the test until like Wednesday. But
Rich,
mean,
we
it's
have a new
pretty easy.
accolade. We have the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club Media Award and Better Than Calculus.
We should retire right now.
That's right.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Oh, man. All right, Andrew. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, what a show. Thanks again to Andrew Bogusz and, of course, Jeff Reay for being on the program tonight. Rich France, for the first time this season, our upcoming calendar includes automobile racing taking place in the state of Michigan. How glorious.
An actual race we're announcing in Michigan, Zach.
That's right.
Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm telling you.
All right. Crystal Motor Speedway season opener this Saturday night. Man, everybody get out there. You're going to see a heck of a show. I think you're going to see a great field of late models, modifieds, all the rest of the cars they run out there.
Yep.
And it's going to be guys getting, like I said earlier, Zach, you're going to see guys that aren't going to run there all year, but they're good car. They're going to want to get out and shake their stuff down. So good fields of cars all across the board are expected before any of the other dirt tracks open up.
Here's what you're looking at, a lineup that includes late models, IMCA modified, street stocks, sport compacts, pro stocks, and the 2 division of mini wedges. Pit gates will swing open at 2 o'clock. I bet they're open before that because everybody's going to be excited. And then the general admission gates swing at 4. Green flag waves at 7 o'clock. Saturday night at Crystal Motor Speedway. Attica Raceway Park will host a season opener this weekend. And you say to yourself, Self, I thought Attica's been racing for a month. Well, they have. The All-Star Circuit of Champions. The rebirth occurs this weekend, Rich, if Mother Nature will cooperate, a doubleheader weekend on tap.
Well, I think they'll be all right. Boy, did you see all the water they had in turn 4 this weekend?
I know.
I mean, it was halfway up the racetrack. I hope they get rid of that and pump it out because I don't know if that was going to go anywhere on its own. But it looks like it's going to be dry, but it'll be cool in the evening. No secret about that. You got to get, if you can tolerate that in, March and April, Zach, you can still enjoy some good racing.
You're still in a pretty good shape. So it's the Core and Main Spring Nationals with the All-Star Circuit of Champions. Friday night, pits at 4, grandstands at 4, racing at 7:45, and then they'll try to run it back again on Saturday. Same thing, 4 o'clock for both gates, 7 o'clock for the racing program. All-Star Circuit of Champions, 305 winged sprint cars on Saturday night, and super late models, of course, on Friday night for this doubleheader weekend. So a good weekend to get down to Attica Raceway Park. And not to be left out, because I would never allow that to happen, would I, Richard?
No, I was going to say, Zach, we got one more, and I figured I'd take it. I don't know if you knew about it or not.
Oh, what is it? Tell me, what's going on?
GLSS season opener at I-75 Raceway in Tennessee. Do you know about that this weekend?
Really? Oh,
no.
Man, that might be a nice little trip.
Yeah, why don't you take it?
We are looking forward to it. A co-sanctioned affair with the United Sprint Car Series. Weather a little bit questionable down there. We'll have a decision Wednesday night or Thursday as to what we're going to be able to do and what we aren't going to be able to do. But again, this is a tour opening weekend. Grandstands at 5 if you're going to make the trip. Racing at 7:30 on Friday night, and then grandstands at 5, racing at 7 on Saturday night. And they, Rich, down at I-75 are just like the tracks up here in Michigan. No shortage of other racing divisions down there. 604 and 602 late models and modifieds and compacts, and they got all sorts of stuff that's racing down there this weekend. So,
well, if there's an issue down there, you better tell Brian LeBaron not to give your tickets away quite yet.
No, I know.
If you don't go.
I know. Brian, because I know you listen to the show, keep me on the comp list.
Yeah.
Because if something happens at I-75, I'm going to Crystal. My wife doesn't know that yet, but
oh boy, Brian, I think you're pretty safe.
I think we're good. No, we're going to be there. If we can't race at I-75, we're going to Crystal because that's where we'll be next weekend, Rich. So I got to scope the place out, make sure we're good to go. So.
Exactly.
Right. Cool. Well, thanks so much to Jeff and to Andrew for making time. On behalf of Scott Menlin, who pays the bills, Rich France, my co-host, I'm Zach Heiser. Thanking you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you same time, same place next week right here on Horsepower Happenings.